This is Shomik Ghosh reporting from the sidelines of the fifth edition of the Data Strategy Summit at ETCIO. Joining me today is Shri Rajeev Chandrasekhar. He's the former Minister of Electronics and IT and also a technocrat and entrepreneur. Rajeev, it's an absolute pleasure hosting you. Thank you for joining us today. Rajeev, you did give us, a great keynote session there, and some of the really good points that you mentioned. To start with, you said that there's digitization of two types. So you've got customer digitization and also the enterprise one. Which one do you think is evolving at a higher pace, and how can companies keep up with the pace of digitization?
Look, enterprise digitization is something that has happened in India for several years. After Y2K and all of that, there has been a sense that enterprises have digitized reasonably fast. But the biggest phenomenon in the last 10 years has been the pace of uh, consumer digitization and citizen digitization. And part of that has been enabled by and catalyzed by the fact that the government under Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji has invested heavily in these digital public infrastructure platforms that connect government to citizen and citizen to government. So a lot of the public governance today is being delivered by DPIs and digital platforms, which is in turn accelerating the digitization of consumers. So I think clearly today, the pace at which consumers' lives are being digitized is in a lot of ways impacting the overall digitization of our economy, our country at large. And I think that is the principal seminal the phenomenon of the last 10 years.
Right. Thanks. Now, we all got a little ticked off, maybe even rubbed the wrong way when Sam Altman said that India will never be able to come up with something like an open AI. Now, in your keynote, you actually highlighted that we shouldn't be focusing our resources, our attention on developing the next LLM. It's not really a bragging right, according to what you said. If you could elaborate on that, what do you think is India's biggest scope when it comes to AI?
Look, our government and in a sense, our ecosystem has been extremely focused on the real life application of technology. So while there is a space for research and innovation, and there is OpenAI and there is XAI and there are so many other people who are innovating in AI, and I have nothing against them, excepting I always say that anybody who in tech says that it can never be done by anybody else is doomed to repeat the mistakes of that history has shown us. There's no such thing that there is nobody who can do better in tech. India in particular is focused on, and I think this is an amazing part of the Indian innovation ecosystem that has happened over the last 7-10 years, is that we are focused on deploying cutting edge technologies, on creating real life solutions that impact the citizen and impact the consumer. So you will see that AI, as far as India goes, is really about creating impact applications, transformational applications in medicine discovery, in healthcare, in agriculture, transforming the lives of farmers, in governance, in terms of being much sharper, insight led governance in terms of designing and delivering public services and public schemes. So these are the areas that India will really double down and focus on. And I think India will show the way in really harnessing the true power of AI that impacts the lives of people in a positive way and transform lives in a positive way, as opposed to, like I said, the other people who will brag about, I have 10 trillion parameters and I have something, the chat GPT version 4. I'm not grudging that, nor do I say that is not that is a trivial task. But our focus is really on using tech to impact people's lives for the better.
All right, I think that's a great point there. We need to keep our objectives on something that's attainable and achievable. Now, to wind up, let me ask you a little bit about the governance aspect of this. Now, a lot of companies today are deploying advanced analytics. They are deploying AI. Now, one of the key propellants for the success of an AI project is the amount of data they are able to ingest and then churn. But then again, there's a factor that comes in, and that's the privacy of the customer. Now, with DPDP in place, how do you think customers or how do you think CIOs must approach AI enhancement while ensuring that they're able to meet up with the compliance demands?
No, look, it's a fact. I mentioned that as well, that is clearly something that every CIO, every enterprise should be aware of, every organization that is dealing with consumer data should be aware of, that in India, privacy is a fundamental right. It is a fundamental right today. It is a fundamental right before the DPDP was enacted. And the DPDP basically creates a framework that legislates, that translates into legislation how companies and enterprises can work in the context of privacy being a fundamental right. So all CIOs, all enterprises should be, in a sense, aware. I don't say they should be wary. I don't think they should be worried. They should be aware that there are certain guardrails that are now emerging, and do's and don'ts and rules of the game that are emerging, that will define and guide them in terms of how to use consumer data and how not to use it. So the free for all that existed, and the free for all that was exploited by many of the big tech companies in the past, that is a game that is now shut down. Today, everybody needs to look at consumer data with a lot more responsibility and an awareness that there is a legislative framework that guides them in how to do it and how not to do it.
Well said. And yes, we have seen the humongous amount of fines that these big tech companies have had to pay in other countries such as Europe or other places as well. Now, that was Rajeev Chandrasekhar, the entrepreneur and technocrat and one of the flag bearers of India's Innovation in India Inc. Thank you so much again, Rajeev, for joining us, and
Thank you.
hope you have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Stay tuned. We are going to be back with more live updates from the ETCIO Data Strategy Summit.